Hello, welcome to Geeking Out with Shad. This is the weather we've got right now. It's raining, but the rain is supposed to stop. The reason I'm doing this intro is my Bolt EUV just got fully charged overnight, and I will be driving up to my property up in an area called the Cuyuna Recreation Area. Lots of mountain biking trails and things like that up there. So my plan is to do a real world range test. It is about 130, 135 mile drive. So I will be loading up my car, mountain biking back, all my stuff for the weekend, and I'm gonna drive up there. And I have the ability to charge up there because I have a 240 volt outlet up there. I can plug my level 2 charger that comes with the car, which is awesome. You can do level 1 and level 2 charging with the chargers. Usually EVs only come with a level 1 charger that you can plug into a 120 outlet. So I love the fact that they give you both options. And so I'll show you how that plugs in when I get there. But yeah, we'll see what I have left. Now, what's going to be different, because you can go on YouTube and look at long range tests, and they go all the way until the battery's dead, and they will do like a 75, like a constant 75 or a constant 70 miles per hour, and then tell you how much range the car will go at that speed, highway test, right? I want this one to be more realistic. You know, a lot of people talk about EVs and how, you can't really road trip with them, things like that, or you can, but it's very difficult. That's not untrue if you're going on a longer trip. But the thing is 150 or 250 miles of range is a lot. It's a pretty big area around from where I live, Minneapolis, where I can get to a lot of places within that range in this area. Like, it's pretty impressive where I can go. Like, I could go to Duluth and I can charge up there when I get there, things like that. So this is more of a realistic. I'm not going to stay at a fixed speed. I'm going to be driving in traffic. I'm going to be driving on regular city streets. I'm going to be driving mostly on the highway. There's a part where I go around a big lake called Mille Lacs Lake. If you know Minnesota, that is a massive lake right smack dab in the middle of Minnesota. You can't even see across it, and no, it's not even one of the big Great Lakes. It's big enough where you can't see the other side. It's pretty crazy. So I go part way around that, and that speed can drop all the way down to 40, 45 miles per hour if there's a lot of traffic, and can go up to like 63, 65. So it's going to be varied quite a bit. And so I'll be varying speeds anywhere from 70, 75 miles per hour down to the 40s, 45, up most of the way up there. And then the short trips through towns at 30 miles per hour, 35. So that's a more realistic like drive. This kind of fixed 70 mile per hour thing, it's cool, it's good to know, but it's not realistic, right? So that's what I'm going to be doing. So this is earlier in the day when it's still raining. When I start driving, and hopefully the rain will be gone and it'll be a little later in the day. Awesome. Let's get to it. Okay, here we are. Charge complete. It says 300 miles. There's no way I'm getting that on the highway. I've been getting really good mileage driving around the city because I run in the regen mode. So we're starting up. Let's turn the radio off. So if you see that minimum down there, that's going to be more closer to what the actual range would be on the highway.
Or you can
So
ask it something.
I turned the radio off and then it turned back on. There's definitely some weird stuff that happens. Hopefully they fix it in like a software update or whatever. Got my phone, so let's go ahead and hook up Android Auto so we can see where I'm going. So what I always do, let's see if it comes up on my list again, one of those things where Riverton. That's where I generally go because my property is really close to that. There we go. 133 miles to where I'm going. Depending on the time that I get up there, I might reroute and cut through Crosby if I want to swing by the grocery store or something like that. That'll add maybe 5 or 6 miles, so plenty of distance. So I have plenty of range. The goal of this test is to see how far, or not how far, but what's the remaining range when I get up there, and then see that I can just easily plug in and fully recharge my car. So here we go. Time to get on the road and do this. Yes, it is still raining. I guess I did a terrible job at predicting the weather because I said it was going to stop raining by the time I left. It did not stop raining by the time I left. Well, it did for a little bit, and then it started up again.
Head south on Drew Avenue.
Now it's giving me warning because there's cars coming back there. Cool. So, yeah, let's get on the highway. Okay, so now I am on the highway, and this is what I was talking about. Realistic driving is you have traffic and the speeds are varied. Speed limit on this stretch of road is 60, but I'm going 53, 55 in there, whatever. It's kind of right at the very beginning of when rush hour starts. It's 3:26. In like another hour, this will all be backed up and everything. So that's why I kind of do this earlier, is to try to beat that backup in that rush hour. So yeah, in traffic, this is more realistic. So it's not like you're ever going to be like at a fixed, perfect 70 miles per hour the entire way. And I don't generally, on this route, I don't really do 70 miles per hour much because the speed limit up there is mostly 65, so I'll run at like 69. There's one stretch on 94 where I do over 70, 74, 75, but it's a pretty short stretch. So yeah, this is realistic driving. That's what this range test is going to be about. All right, let's get to it.
Keep right at the fork.
All right.
Continue on US 169 north for 8 miles.
Looks like traffic is stopped up here. According to the map, it is. We got these meter lights. Sure would be nice if they let EVs use the express lane. I think they should. More incentive to get an EV. So this is realistic driving. Yay, traffic. If I can get into the left lane. Here's kind of why, you know, I like to get on it and use the power of an EV, the acceleration, which is pretty quick. And so that's also realistic driving. That's how I like to drive when I'm trying to get into traffic or something. I get on the accelerator pretty hard so I can find that gap and fit in there. So, which isn't efficient driving, right? So it's not always just about efficiency. It's like realistic. This is how a person generally will drive, at least people that aren't just, you know, babying through traffic all the time. What's interesting about this is Super Cruise is available. Let me set my speed to a reasonable, like 60. And then let's turn Super Cruise on and see what it does in this traffic. So I see the car slowing down up front. This is slowing down. Oh, it's hitting the brakes hard. Yep. The trust factors are kind of weak. It's like, let's see, does it come to a complete stop and then start rolling? Oh my gosh, look at that. Okay, it's a little slow accelerating, but it's going. Oh yeah, look at that. I didn't have to do a thing. It just did it for me. So I can just sit in traffic. Here's more slamming on the brakes. There's definitely I need to pay attention because the trust factor isn't very high in these automated systems. But it's doing it. It's keeping me in the lane, and it is sticking with traffic, and I'm not doing anything. Super Cruise is just that. It's like cruise on steroids. It's not full automated driving like the Tesla autopilot, where that car will drive anywhere and do everything for you, apparently. I've never tried autopilot. Let's see what it does here. I gotta be like on my toes. Okay, so it's, wow. Yep. It's just poking along in traffic all automatically. Wow. Okay. But it's not like, it won't change lanes for me. It's not going to navigate for me. I've had a car cut in front of me and it flashes red and tells me to take over and stuff like that. So it and there's certain segments of roads that it isn't logged in their system. So what General Motors does is they have all these roads mapped, like, you know, I don't remember what they were bragging about, but you know, many thousands of miles of highways mapped, and so you have to be on a mapped highway. When I get into like construction zones, I have to take over things like that. So it's not autopilot. It's basically cruise on steroids. It'll keep you in the lane and it'll do this adjustment thing automatically, but it doesn't do everything for you. So, and it requires that you have your attention. There's this little thing down here that if I stop paying attention and I look away or I grab my phone or something like that, it will flash and then disengage and force me to take over. So it's pretty cool, but you know, it is what it is. I like the adaptive. You can notice I get quiet because I'm like ready to take over. It's got the adaptive cruise, which is how this works, right? So if I took it out of Super Cruise, I would steer, but it would still do the stop and go thing for me with adaptive cruise. And then the Super Cruise is also steering and keeping me in the lane. And if there's a curve, it'll take me on the curve and so on and so forth. I need to exit in 1.9 miles, so I'm going to probably take over here in a moment. So there you have it. This is Super Cruise in traffic, doing its thing. Pretty wild. And the wipers are also automated, so they're doing their thing. It's kind of funny. Automated driving will become a thing whether we like it or not. It's
in 1.5 miles, take the
one of those things.
exit.
I'm not a big fan of it, but that's because I've been driving all my life and I'm older, but I can definitely think a whole younger generation is going to easily embrace this technology. Okay, if you look at Google Maps here, you see the red line, so that means I'm going to be stuck in this stop and go traffic. Let's talk about that for a minute. When you're in a gas-powered vehicle and you're in this situation, you waste a lot of gas. You use a lot more because you're constantly idling, you're having to accelerate and use the, you know, more gas to accelerate and then slow down. So when you slow down, you don't get anything back. So every time you have to slow down with a gas-powered car, it's a waste. The idea to make a gas-powered car to be the most efficient is to be at a constant speed. What's interesting about EVs is it's completely the opposite. If you're sitting at a constant speed and just going down the highway, that's when you're going to use the most battery and it'll lower your range versus when you're stopping and going. So in this traffic, I'm actually going to increase my range quite a bit and regen my battery because every time I slow down, it regens back to the battery. So it's actually more efficient in an EV to be in this stop and go traffic than it is in a gas car. And then the other way around, it's more efficient to be at a nice constant or steady speed with a gas car than stopped in traffic like this. So if you don't know that, I thought I would just mention it, but that is the truth, and that's solely because when you're stopped, you're not idling, or when you're slowly rolling or whatever, you're not idling, and EVs regenerate when you slow down. So if you look at this kilowatt thing on the right, when it's yellow, it's using power. When it's green, it's regenerating. So I'm using about 11 kilowatts now. I'm down to 16, regenerating back, and so it's this back and forth. So you're kind of like almost getting free energy. Over all in all, once by the time I get through all this red, I will have used more energy than I've regenerated, but only a very, very, very subtle amount. And I've actually seen the range meter over here go up when I'm in traffic like this. So it's an interesting concept. Very different than when you're in a gas-powered car. So if you are...
In 600 feet, keep right to continue on
Yes.
I-94 West. Follow signs for St. Cloud.
If you are in a lot of traffic or in the city where you're stopping and going at stoplights and stuff, an EV is going to be
Keep right to continue on I-94
much more
West.
efficient, and you're going to have a lot more range than what the EPA estimated range is in an EV. Okay, I'm at 75% charge. I'm actually been at 75% for a little bit. It doesn't actually tell me the percentage, it's just got those bars down there. It was at 212 miles when I saw it drop down to where it is now. I have 66 miles left, and 206 on that, what's called the guessometer, right? I heard somebody call it a guessometer, and I just love that term. Because it basically is doing that. It's doing a guess of what my range will be. So I will have probably half a charge left when I get there. What's pretty impressive is if you look at the average miles per kilowatt hour, it's at 4.2, and that seems high to me. It's probably because of all that stop and go traffic I was in, and I'm gonna guess it's gonna drop because now I'm at a steady speed. I'm doing 69 miles per hour. The speed limit here is 65, and so this is, you know, good comfortable speeds, you know, kind of similar to what most of the traffic is doing. There are some people that like to drive a little faster, so I'm in the right lane for that reason. So there you have it. That is the 75% remaining update. And yeah, I've been in Super Cruise, just cruising along here. I don't have to mess with the accelerator pedal. I don't have to steer. I do have to pay attention because if I look away or am distracted in any way, I've even like go to drink my water, and when I'm tipping my head back to drink my water, it actually disengaged the Super Cruise. So yeah, it's pretty touchy. It doesn't let you like get too distracted while you're running in it, which is a good thing in my opinion. I actually appreciate that because people shouldn't be texting or doing other chores and things while they're driving, even if they have this automated feature. Cool. Until next update. Okay, so one thing I didn't mention was kind of my setting. So it is 63 degrees right now. It was 60 down in the cities. Still raining. I have no climate control on. I don't have heat or air conditioning. I did when it was raining because every once in a while the windows would start to fog up a little bit. I would turn the AC on at 70 degrees for about a minute to get the windows cleared. I did that like 3 times and then I just turned it back off. But the temperature in the car is really comfortable, so I have no climate control on, and that does affect range. So there is a setting in here, if I go over to it, that will show me how much climate settings. It actually says 0%, so even those couple of times wasn't enough to really impact it. So 0% climate, 0% battery conditioning because it's warm enough for the battery not to need to be warmed up or cooled off or whatever. So yeah, it's all 100% going towards driving, and then of course the needed accessories to drive. So thought I would mention that because you know, a lot of these tests and range tests, you'll run some type of climate. Come colder weather, we are getting into it is September, we're going to get into some cooler weather here in Minnesota, and I'm going to continue talking about how range is affected by cold weather. And I know there's a lot of people out there that are anxious to hear that piece of it, because it's a really important piece of EVs, especially one like this that doesn't have a heat pump. Okay, so Super Cruise is not allowed in this area. I'm fine with that, with these 2-lane roads. We are going around, partway around Mille Lacs Lake, around the west side of it, so you can see the lake there on the map. And right up here, as we get closer to it, I'll look to the right briefly and you can see how big the lake is, because you can't actually see the other side of it. So it's a pretty massive lake, and if you ever look at a map of Minnesota, you'll see this lake in the middle of it, and that's this lake right here. So it's pretty funny that we have this massive lake right in the middle. Let's see, here's a opening, gotta be brief. There you go. That's the lake. You can't even see the other side. So yeah, it's big. The speed limit drops down to 55. I just set it at 63 and let the adaptive cruise. So the adaptive cruise does work, because that'll work at any time. It's not reliant on the mapping of the nation that GM does. But Super Cruise requires the road that you're on to be part of the system that GM has for Super Cruise. So so adaptive cruise is really handy, because I can just sit here, I steer the car, but it'll automatically adapt, and I have it set at its like longest setting, because to me it doesn't make any sense, like if I'm a little bit closer to that truck or not, whether it's not going to get me there any quicker, and it gives me time to like react if I need to. But yeah, this is it. We're at the lake. Let's do a little range check here. You can see that I'm actually less than halfway between 75% and 50%, so I don't know what that is. It's probably 60 some percent, or maybe right around 60% left. I've got 37 miles to go, and this tells me I have 160 miles of range left. So with, you know, doing the math, it looks like I'm gonna have around 120 miles remaining. I might even be better than that, because now I'm slowed down, and at these slower speeds the car definitely drives more efficiently. If you I didn't mention it while I was there, but when I'm going 69, this green circle down here is kind of a yellowish color, meaning that it's not in its most efficient driving mode. Now it's green, so it's going to be more efficient driving. So that's kind of how that works. Pretty neat. So you can kind of tell as that turns yellow that you're getting into less efficient driving, and you're going to lose battery a tiny bit quicker than you would if you're in this green. So that's my guess, that I'm probably gonna end up a little higher. I'm also thinking that I might detour through Crosby, which is gonna add about 6 miles to my journey, which is fine, because I got plenty of juice left. I do have the ability to charge at my property, so I don't worry about it. But if I didn't, there is a fast charger in Crosby that you could plug into and get your car up to a full charge if you needed. Within, you know, these Bolts don't charge super fast, but within an hour, if you're at 50% charge, you could get your car back to full charge. If it was closer to being depleted, it would take probably more like an hour and a half to fully charge. So just keep that in mind with the Bolt, is that it is not, I mean, it does have fast charging, it's just not the, you know, up there with some of these other cars that can fully charge in like 45 minutes or something like that. With EVs, that is the thing, is how quickly can you charge it on a fast charger so you can get back out on the road. That's a problem that needs to be continued to be worked on and resolved at some point. You can get away with it, but I know most people are like, yeah, I can go to the gas pump, fill up in under 5 minutes and be back on the road, right? I don't know if you'll ever be able to do that quickly with EVs, but even if it was down to 15 or 20 minutes, that'd be a lot more reasonable than 45 minutes, or in this case, an hour and a half or whatever. So I'm fine with it if I planned out my trip, because I've been driving this trip here, I drive for usually 2.5 hours, and it's like, well, to deplete the battery here, I'd be driving for over 3 hours. And to me, it's like taking an hour break, an hour and a half break would be absolutely fine at that point. So, but for some people, they want to just get right back out on the road, and I get that. So yeah, I am definitely doing really good on range. I have 18 miles left there. That says 144. So really excellent, by the way. I just, like, way better than I expected. Pretty impressive. I'm gonna be swinging through Crosby, grabbing some groceries and so on and so forth, add a little bit more mileage, and then we will check at the end, and I'll show you how I plug in and stuff and see what I have left. Pretty cool. Okay, I have just arrived, and I'm kind of shocked at the numbers I see here. So if you see that, that's 4.2 miles per kilowatt hour. That's really good. That says 129 miles left. And my charger is on the left there, or I plug my charger into that one. And over here, let's go to energy, and we can see the stats. So I drove 134.3 miles and used 34.4 kilowatt hours. That's really good numbers. If I had to turn around and get back to Minneapolis, it would be questionable. I probably wouldn't make it, would be my guess. I'd probably go more by that lower number of 105, or somewhere in between these two numbers. That wouldn't get me back there, so I would definitely have to charge before I headed back. But this is really good. These are good numbers. So awesome. I'm gonna plug my car in. Let's check out how that works. Okay, I will show you what's so cool about this car. It has a charger, and I probably have it set up. Here it is. Yep, I have this module plugged in to go into that outlet, but there's another one in here somewhere. Oh yeah, here it is. This is if you have a 120 volt, and this is for 240. And when I plug it into 240, that's a 50 amp outlet. It will charge my car at level 2, which is really good. So go here, plug this bad boy in. So you see that turn on, ready to go. Bring this over, plug in my car, and it should tell me inside. Yeah, so it'll be fully charged by 1 a.m. It is 6:32 right now. Well, it's actually dropping. It says 12 now. So that's 5.5 hours. Well, it's even dropping more. So I think it's figuring out that that's a 50 amp, because 50 amp is much faster. So 11:45, it is 6:33. This will be fully charged from the halfway mark. So keep that in mind. This is a half charge, not a full charge. So yeah, I wouldn't charge that quickly full charge. I would expect for full charge 11, 12 hours, something like that. So there you have it. Oh, let's put this back. Okay, so that was a long range driving review. I didn't do like the full extent of the battery. I did half, but you get a pretty good idea. And that was real world driving. None of this staying fixed at a specific speed. So I'm not criticizing those tests. I'm just saying that that's not normal driving. The reason they do those tests is so you can compare between cars. So if you do all the cars with roughly the same test, then you can compare between what car, you know, meets its numbers better or gets better range. That's the reason you do those tests. But this kind of test is real world, stopping and going, varied speeds on the highway, all that stuff. And that's why I want to do this one. And we'll do these kind of tests as the weather gets colder and when I do run heat, because that is something that really does affect the battery. Running air conditioning doesn't affect the battery as much as running the heater. And again, it depends on the temperature settings you do and all that stuff, because you know, if you're cranking everything and trying to make the car really warm, it's obviously going to use more battery. If you're comfortable with like 65 degrees, which I'm not necessarily, but you know, we'll see. 68, whatever, that's fine. But in the middle of winter, I might be comfortable with 65 degrees. I'm used to gas-powered cars where I just crank the heat and make it nice and toasty warm inside. And also, another key to this is keeping the windows clear, right? Because in the wintertime, the windows want to fog up or ice over or whatever. So it'll be interesting testing this in the wintertime. I want to try to do some cold weather testing before I change out the tires, because I do have a set of snow dedicated tires, so you can get an idea of how the cold affects the car. When I switch out to the other tires, they're not low rolling resistance tires, and I can talk about how much the tires affect the car also. And so we'll get all that covered throughout this winter. So if you like this kind of content, please like and subscribe. I will be doing more videos. Remember, I still have the Volkswagen ID4 Pro S dual motor to be testing and stuff too. All right, awesome. I really appreciate your support for my channel. Please like and subscribe. Peace.